The Corvette Z06 is an amazing bang for your buck when it comes to supercars.
Whoa, 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 Ben. What about this? So today we got two projects we want to show you guys that are effectively getting the same treatment.
So while they're getting the same treatment, these are two very different vehicles. One has an MSRP of almost half of the other, and we're talking about an American supercar and an Italian beauty.
Ben, I'll cover the Ferrari. You got the Z06?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Let's do it.
This car, in this spec in particular, with the Seawolf Gray, with the black and red interior, just looks absolutely amazing. While it's maybe not as exotic as a Ferrari, with the mid-engine of the Corvette combined with the wail of the flat plain crank V8, this car is so exotic for the price point.
All right, this one may cost over 4 times as much, but this Ferrari 296 is basically a road legal F1 car. This has a twin turbo V6. Yes, it has an electric motor as well, but that means it puts out over 800 horsepower. But for me, this is all about the tri-coat yellow metallic paint, which is absolutely stunning. All of the carbon fiber accents all the way around the car, and these absolutely massive carbon ceramic brakes. But hey, we got work to do, so let's get to it. All right, so the first step of this process, now that you've been introduced to the car, is to figure out why this car's here, what we're doing, and what makes sense. So let's first talk about the client. So this was a very good client of ours, private Ferrari collector, has all the cool stuff, 458 Speciale, 488 Pista, lots of other different things. And although we've always protected his cars in relatively the same manner, he came in, he said, Ian, I'm gonna drop off my 296, you tell me what you think we should do and why. So now that it's here, we got it in a bay, it's dirty, we haven't prepped it yet, we haven't touched it, but we're here to assess it and see what we're going to do and why. So let's just quickly talk about that. So as I just get a quick look at it, even just here in real time, you know, I want to point out stuff like this, even on the front end, with this car being so aggressive in terms of like the aerodynamics. I mean, look at this. This is actually terrifying. So seeing these rocks, this is not from anything other than just driving it around the parking lot. Rocks sitting in this very aggressive carbon fiber splitter. You know, as this car actually gets driven, that's going to turn into actual damage. So let's prevent that from happening. So when we look around this vehicle, in terms of the color, the value, how special this car is, the fact that our client waited 18 months for this car, we have to think about a few things, right? Return on investment, what makes sense for protecting the collector value of the car, what another buyer is going to look for down the line in terms of how does this car look once it's been driven and just in the real world. So with that being said, a full body wrap in terms of paint protection film is what makes sense just based on the styling of it in terms of like the aggressive aero that we pointed out in the front, the wideness of the car, how low it is, how aggressive, even things as simple as, you know, a lot of things that people don't think about, right, is like this roof spoiler or whatever we want to call it. You know, say a rock or something flies up and chips this, right? You know, some people may say, well, hey, I can just get that repainted or I can touch it up, but things are only new once. So like, let's just protect it and do it right the first time. You know, if you were to try to repaint that or touch it up, it's never the same. It's never as it is now. If you were to try to repaint that, you know, the color might not match, especially when you're talking about a really special tri-coat metallic paint like this. A few other things to call out is, I mean, even look at the front wheel and tire fitment. You have this fender that just kind of contours down into that carbon fiber rocker panel, and then you have this very wide tire that's just pointing directly at this. So this is obviously, you can already start to see some dust building up there just from moving it around the parking lot. But this is all going to turn into sandblasting. This is going to get rock chips. It will get damaged. It's not if, it's when, and how bad is it going to be. So that tells me, hey, we have to have paint protection film in all of these areas. If you're going to do it, let's do it right. Even as you walk around the car, the rear hips of the car, for lack of a better term, they're so wide. You could have things picking up in here into these air intakes, which actually go directly into the engine in the back. You have all this sensitive piano black trim. Just like how black paint is sensitive, trim pieces like this are equally as sensitive. So you want to protect those as well with PPF and coatings. And then even as we get into the back of the car, same thing with wheel and tire fitment, right? So Ferrari, if you're familiar with, some of the older vehicles, the 458, 430s, 360s, anything along the lines of that, Ferrari actually used to put paint protection film strips in a lot of these areas, and that tells you even Ferrari knows these areas are going to get rock chips and pitting, that sort of thing. So in this particular car, the reason I call that out, Ferrari is actually not doing that anymore. So obviously their job is to make this beautiful supercar that we have, not necessarily protect and preserve it. So they don't put those paint protection film strips there anymore, which is fine. That's why we're here. But yeah, these areas with this aggressive wheel and tire fitment, I mean, we got wide 305s on a 20-inch wheel in the back. The rear tire is pointing directly at this carbon fiber diffuser as well as the rear bumper. This will get sandblasted, so let's protect that. Even when you look in the back, that carbon fiber diffuser, I mean, that is beautiful, but that's a little scary in terms of the way that rocks are going to be coming out from underneath the car. All of these areas going to get rock chips and pitting. So I don't think there's any way around it. There's no easy part of this car in terms of washing it and maintaining it. So that's when we get into the ceramic coatings. We just talked about all the reasons for wanting to do paint protection film. That's your physical impact protection, your resistance from rock chips. Again, rock chips, sandblasting, pitting, anything that can physically fly up and chip the paint or damage it. Whereas the ceramic coatings are gonna give us that beautiful gloss, make that paint much more vibrant. Not that it doesn't look great already, it's brand new, but we can make it look even better and enhance it. And then in terms of maintenance, if I'm driving this car, I want to spend my time driving it and enjoying it, not really spending as much time washing it and maintaining it. So there's no easy part of this car to maintain, whether it is all these pieces that we just pointed out, all these intricate vents, the carbon fiber, the scoops, trying to get in here and clean this. If I'm washing this on a Saturday in my driveway, this isn't going to be easy to clean. The coatings will completely transform the way that maintenance is going to be long term, and pairing that with the full PPF wrap, I think is going to be crucial in terms of this client being able to just get this car out on the road, enjoy it, but not have to worry about, is it getting super dirty? How much time am I going to spend when I'm done with this drive cleaning it? And is it getting damaged as I'm driving it? So that's why once we actually take a walk around this car, it just makes sense. Let's check all the boxes. Let's get this thing protected right. Full PPF wrap and coatings coming up next. All right, so we're about to get into the Corvette with Ben, but first, you may have seen this on our Instagram, but we recently had a client drop off a gorgeous Porsche Cayenne S directly from the dealer. That one rolled in on our concierge flatbed, and it was completely wrapped in all the factory plastics. We unzipped, unwrapped, and unveiled that Cayenne to have it ready for Vinny. But let's check in with him and see where he's at.
What's up, Vinny? Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Vinny at Q Car Care here. We got this beautiful Cayenne S, getting a whole suite of protection. So it came here, needed a little bit of prep work like most new cars. We ended up doing full stealth PPF on the whole body, as well as gloss on some of the carbon trim. I'm prepping the body for coatings right now, and to save you the time and boredom, we're gonna cut right to the final result. Ben's gonna walk you around the Z06.
So this car has obviously been controversial, highly anticipated, all sorts of stuff. I mean, so this is the new Z06, which has the naturally aspirated flat plane crank V8 in it. In a lot of ways, when you look at a spec sheet, this is a very similar car to what the Ferrari 458 was. The customer brought it in, and if you're gonna drive this car, you're gonna drive it regularly, and you don't wanna have to think about it, you have to wrap the whole car. And that's what it's here to do. So we're gonna apply paint protection film on all of the Seawolf gray surfaces. I remember when the C6 Z06 came out, and that car, just its presence was just wild. And this is the same thing. It sounds absolutely insane. All right, so this car does have sticky Michelin rubber, and that means that while it's gonna handle awesome, it's also gonna throw rocks like crazy. Look at all these lower skirts. But if you see the angles of the lower doors into the quarter, stuff like that, this rear hip right here, this is gonna get all of the rocks, especially at speed, are just gonna smash into this right down here. So I'm actually gonna recommend to the owner that in addition to putting one layer of clear bar out, we're actually gonna put a secondary layer on there that's kind of like tear-offs. That's something that I do on my own personal cars just because this area is going to get destroyed. So better off to have the 2 layers of foam on there. You can then have, again, a sacrificial layer that you can just rip off, which is kind of the way to go on this. But yeah, I mean, again, see all the angles? It's like, you can see the way that the light is. It's just, stuff's gonna ping off this like crazy. And you hear it anytime you're driving through a construction zone, you're driving down a gravel road, you hear that stuff. And guess what? When you're going 80, 90, 170 miles an hour on the highway, it's gonna hit there as well. So we gotta protect that stuff. These paints are water-based paints, they're delicate, they chip super easily. So easiest thing to do, just cover the whole car. On a car like this car is probably approaching $200,000, right? So it's not a small investment to wrap the whole thing, but it's what I would do personally on my own car. I don't have a Z06 Vet, but I would like one, especially after looking at this one more and more. Oh, it's got the red interior too. This thing is so sick. These cars really, really impress me. So anyway, this is done getting wrapped. It'll get coated. You want to ceramic coat the film because it makes it way easier to take care of. Once that's coated, the water just falls right off it. The dirt falls right off of it. I always tell people, I mean, even in my own experience, having a car that's wrapped and coated, you need to clean it like half as often. It makes the paint reflect light better, right? The paint, the wrap, whatever you've coated. And when it reflects light better, it's gonna shine a lot more. And when it shines more, it's gonna turn more heads, right? And so, again, regardless if it's a Ferrari, if it's a Corvette, it's an interesting color. You know, I remember that many years ago, everybody would have said, hey, this is primer gray, why would you want that? And I mean, it's battleship gray, it's Nardo gray, it's really cool. So anyway, this is gonna get the full suite of ceramic coatings on the exterior, make it super easy to clean. It's great because this is a car that you want looking good all of the time. Yeah, I really love the color combination that he did on this, because if you see, like, it's like, you got the gray, and then you've got the red in the engine bay, and then you've got red in the interior. I mean, this is probably close to how I would order this car. And you know, when I saw it roll up on the flatbed, I was impressed. But so yeah, the stuff that we will do will keep this car looking great. If you didn't wrap it, I've seen these cars with just, not a new Z06, but cars that have sticky tires that people drive without paint protection film on them, and you end up with rock chips in all these areas. And you know, you have to stop that from happening. So it's yeah, cool to have this one in. And again, it's, you know, if you're to pit this car against the 296, it's a little bit of a different story. But this car versus a 458, I would struggle to pick. You know, it doesn't, again, I don't know if it's got like that same true like special factor that the Ferrari has, but it's special in its own right. I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, I could look at this thing for hours. So anyway, we'll get back to it, but that's, those are my thoughts on the Z06 and what we're doing to it.
Now that you've seen both these projects, you decide. Do you think this Ferrari is worth 4 times what the Z06 cost? Comment below and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, as we have much more car content coming.